And with us this morning, a guy who I think I could call him friend over the years. I got to know him when I had a chance to go speak on his behalf back whenever. My goodness, it seems like forever ago. Up in Hazleton, when he was the mayor of Hazleton, he then became congressman for the 11th Congressional District. He came to national prominence with a high-profile anti-immigration ordinance that spurred all kinds of legal challenges, and he has been standing up for many of those principles since that time. And he is Lou Barletta, who yesterday announced that he is going to be running for the gubernatorial spot here in Pennsylvania, also known as governor of the state of Pennsylvania. And he joins us here on WSBA. Congressman, Mayor, I always call you Mayor, or how about just Lou? It's great to have you in this morning, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Gary. How are you?
Thanks for having me. Doing well. Great to have you aboard. So you decide you're going to get back in the saddle again here. Tell us a little bit about the decision to run for the governor of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, sure. It's not what I expected to do, the last year or so, but it's a big decision, to finally decide to do so. I looked at the pros and cons of what it would be, and at the end of the day, it really came down to 14 great reasons to run for governor, and that's my 4 daughters and 10 grandchildren. Gary, could not continue to watch what was happening here in Pennsylvania, the pandemic and how it was handled, and the businesses and people that have been hurt, and the seniors who have lost their lives, because of bad decisions, and our school kids who have been literally had a year of education stolen from them. And I'm just concerned that this is going to continue. And, I have the experience. I've been a businessman, a mayor for 10 years, and I've been in Congress. So I think I'm the right person at the right time.
Let me ask you a question. What have you learned over that 10 years? You talk about being the mayor, and that's where I first met you, and being a congressman. What things have you learned? The realities, have they dampened some of your ideology during that time? Have they obviously they probably shaped it? Talk a little bit about what you've walked away with as far as some of the lessons.
The best experience was my time as mayor, because you're actually governing, and that's what the job of governor will be. You have to make decisions, and I dealt with every issue from small to large, to major crimes, to economic development, to a national problem like illegal immigration. And that, I tell people, listen, I've been tested. When I stood up and tried to deal with that problem, nobody else in the country was willing to do that. So I had no friends. I had no one to go to, nobody in Harrisburg, nobody in Washington. I didn't have a huge staff. I had myself and one assistant. And I stood on the national stage and kept going. I didn't back down. I thought that was probably the best experience for me, because I then went on to Washington and saw how politicians in Washington talk a lot, and they say all the right things, and they get all the good talking points. But, what got done? I mean, here we are. I did this back in 2006, Gary. Now we're in 15 years later, and look at the border. And that problem doesn't stay on the border. It goes to towns like Hazleton and across the country. So, my experience of having to deal with an issue like that and still standing up for the people I represent, I think that's the courage that we need in the governor's office right now.
Every time I saw you in Washington, I saw you a number of times over the years, and we got together when I was down there doing my show. You always seem frustrated to me, and I understand that, because going inside the evil empire as I did during those times, I sensed that a lot of people were frustrated because of exactly what you just described, the fact that it's a talking festival and very little seems to get done, and the politics has really gotten away from any kind of decent policy being done. Was I right in my assumption there that you had a certain amount of frustration there, even though you were still trying to fight for some of the things you believed in?
Totally frustrated, because I was able to get something done. I had my own business, so I was able to make decisions and actually, see the results of them. As a mayor, I was able to actually do things. And then I went to Congress, and, I was one of 400 and some, and really the things that I wanted to get done, totally, the big things, the big picture things, nothing was getting done. So running for governor actually fits my background better than being a legislator, where there's a lot of talk, but not a lot gets done. And as a governor, you can change people's lives. Maybe we couldn't change the country, but we can certainly take care of our own affairs here in Pennsylvania and just look at what Ron DeSantis has been able to do in the state of Florida and how that economy is flourishing because of those decisions.
Right.
I can do the same thing here in Pennsylvania, and that excites me.
Well, when you turn to the governor's job here, we just sent a message on Tuesday to the governor that, hey, by the way, there are other people involved in governing during things like a pandemic, during an emergency. You can't just kind of do it all on your own, even though that's what our governor did this last time. Your thoughts about the message that was sent with the two of the questions on the ballot this past Tuesday and, the governor's job going forward. What are the things you see that a governor has to do to really be effective during these times we live in?
Well, you have to be able to work with other people. You're not a dictator. And my concern, Gary, is that we're watching over the past year, 2 years, more and more of our power, the power of the people, and the freedoms of people being taken away from them. We always knew our Second Amendment was going to be under attack. But did you ever think that you would lose the First Amendment, that you wouldn't be able to speak anymore, or you're going to get canceled, and that governors can actually pick and choose if your business could stay open?
Yeah.
This has got to stop. This is not America. The governor has way too much power, and we have to give it back to the people. This is the people's government, and I'm afraid we're losing that. We're going down that the path of socialism where people don't have a choice anymore, and the powerful become more powerful. And if we don't stop it now, it might be too late. So it's a big deal. I think Pennsylvania is at a crossroads, and we either go back and trust people and give them their freedoms back and get the economy going, or we turn into a dictatorship.
We're talking with Lou Barletta this morning, who's running for governor on the Republican side of things. Lou, if you had to prioritize three things, if you were stepping in right now to the governor's spot and you had to prioritize three things you'd start to do right away, what would those top three things be?
Well, obviously, we need to open up the economy. People have lost their businesses and their livelihoods, because of the pandemic and because of those decisions. So that would be the first thing. We've got to get people back to work again. I talk to business owners all around, and they can't get workers because they're being paid to stay home. So we've got to do that. We've got to bring respect back to our law enforcement. We have to. People want safe neighborhoods, safe cities. And unfortunately, under Governor Wolf, he's literally, he walked in a parade where they were carrying signs, Blue Lives Murder.
Yeah.
We're going to respect our law enforcement again, and we're going to protect the Pennsylvania worker. I understand the problem of illegal immigration and what sanctuary cities do. It attracts more people, but that puts the Pennsylvania worker in competition with cheap labor. So we're going to make sure we're going to do that. And Gary, I did a lot of work in cracking down on government waste. I saved over $4 billion by moving agencies into smaller buildings. And there's a lot of waste in government, and I found that. And we could save taxpayers a lot of money by running a government efficiently like a business as it should. So there's a lot of things I want to do and can do and have an experience, and I have done it. So I'm not a politician just telling you something. If you want to know what I'm going to do tomorrow, Gary, just look back at what I've done yesterday, and you know what you're going to get, somebody who's going to stand up and who's not afraid to fight for the people.
Hey, Lou, we'll be talking to you along the way. Thanks for visiting with us this morning. Appreciate it, and good luck in the effort to serve again, and be safe out there, my friend.
Okay, thank you, Gary.
Thank you. Lou Barletta here on WSBA Morning News with Gary Sutton.